Alrighty, here we go. My name is Travis Neville. This is the Travis Neville Podcast. I wrote this book called Reviving Masculinity. You can get it anywhere fine books are sold. Uh, Amazon, or just Google it. You know, I was talking to Bianca Grace the other day. What a great person she is, and how professional and good at what she does. And it hit me. You know, I've talked about this before, but yeah, if you Google me, I'm an author. That's who I am. That's what, according to the internet, that's me. That's the extent of what I do and who I am. But kind of cool that I made Google. Anyway, that's there, and you can get the book anywhere. Just Google it. It would help me out if you bought it. I think it's $21. I'm about halfway through. I mean, I know I said this 2 months ago, but I'm about halfway through recording the audio version of the book, and man, I knew I had to get it done before a certain time, and I didn't. I missed that deadline, and I knew what that was going to mean was it was going to drag out forever, because in the summer I'm very busy working, doing construction work, which I very much enjoy, but I really shift my focus from doing this stuff and some other office work that I do in my business to being outside and working, doing construction stuff in the summertime. I really have that sense I need to take advantage of the weather while it's nice and make hay while the sun shines, as they say. And I did that, to that end. I hired somebody to start taking care of my social media for me. So I'm still going to post some stuff on my own, but she's basically taking it from here, and trying some new stuff. She's doing some YouTube shorts. She's definitely on TikTok at this point. I'm trying to figure out what her plan is for Instagram. She hasn't really messed with that lately, but take a look at it, see what you think. I mean, I hope it's kind of following the themes that I've had. I don't know. I feel like she's focusing a lot on, like, women instead of focusing on making men better. Instead of talking, because I talked about that a lot, but I feel like we've kind of matured past it, where now it's 100%, hey, let's just get better as men. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do, and she's kind of still kind of posting some of that older stuff, but whatever. I don't know. That's just, me splitting hairs and me being a micromanager. I want to have my hands in everything I'm doing. It was tough for me to give up that social media thing, but it is nice to not have to do it. Anyway, like I said, I've been recording the book, or kind of paused about halfway through, and I thought maybe I'd publish a chapter or two of me recording, and so the first one, I'm not going to do it in order. I'm just going to pick a couple and see if I can get some feedback on them. So the one that draws most people's attention, the one that draws everybody's eyes from the cover, is violent. And I've read it a bunch of times. I've rewritten it a bunch of times. Obviously, the editing process was thorough, and I want to make sure that this idea comes across. I'm not telling people to go be violent and that it's awesome. But I'm also certainly not condoning the idea that our society, specifically schools, uh, further, and that's that violence should just be made illegal, and like passivity should be mandated. And um, I think that's it's not practical. I don't think it's doable. I think it's an exercise in futility, and I think that you crush a lot more out of boys specifically when you don't at least allow for the idea that, hey, it's going to come out sometimes. So, my position is this: are you're descended from your genetics are very violent. You're descended from people who had to fight to live and kill to live, animals, other people, etc. So know that, and know that there's a part of you that is going to need to be sort of bled off. You need to learn how to use that, specifically learn how to control it, learn how to stop it once you get it rolling. And there's lots of great ways to do that. And I try to outline them in this chapter. It's chapter 2 is violent. And just want to make sure that that comes across. So if you would, in the comments, if you're listening to this, or subscribing to my show on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or iHeart or wherever you find it, drop a comment. Let me know if I hit that mark or not. I think a lot of people are just immediately going to be triggered by the word violent and just completely shut down and not be able to hear any of the logic that I'm trying to speak. And other people are a lot more open-minded than that and are able to understand what I'm trying to get across and the importance of it. So seriously interested in feedback on this. Curious what you guys think. But here it is. I'm going to go ahead and play. I thought while I was recording it, audio, I'm like, well, shit, I'll just leave the camera on. And so this is me actually recording the audio for chapter 2. So these are this is exactly what you're going to hear once the audiobook is done. All the edits are in. It is what it is. So I'm going to play that, and I hope that in some way this week's show, which is shorter than normal, helps you in some way to get your shit together. Have a great week. Chapter 2, Violent. Accompanying music, Take It Outside by Brantley Gilbert. Author's note. I hope you never need to use your gift of violence. However, when you have no choice, don't hesitate. Strike hard, strike fast, and do not stop striking until you and yours are safe. Quote, I want you to be nice until it's time to not be nice. End quote. Dalton. We as men are descended from generations of victorious violence. As recently as 200 years ago, our ancestors engaged in violence regularly. Predatory animals, rival tribes, or even those within a man's pack could pose a threat. Killing to produce meat for his family to eat was a regular occurrence. Protecting his family's access to clean water, shelter, and other food sources was also a thing that might require violence. The ability to kill to protect his woman and/or children, and therefore his ability to continue his bloodline, is a natural and useful attribute of an ideal man. Consider a frontier family from the late 1800s living on the Great Plains. The natives might try to steal livestock and/or horses from a man who was trying to build a home for his family. Further, his wife and daughters might be under the threat of abduction with malicious intent. This man would do whatever was necessary to provide for and to protect his family. His willingness to employ violence against these bad guys would be his only defense to protect his family and his own life. Each of you reading this is a descendant of the winners of said conflicts. There are no descendants of the losers because the losers did not survive. Each of us came from men who were willing to fight to the death to keep their families moving forward. Though our modern world is incredibly soft and civilized, you are only a few generations away from men who for thousands of years had to employ violence to stay alive and to continue their genetic lineage. Though modern technology has skyrocketed during that same 200 years, your genetics have not. The capacity for aggression is deep within you, and it needs to be fed. I'm not saying you need to go to a bar every Friday night and find someone to whoop on in the parking lot. Not at all. However, know that there's a part of each of you that has this ability to fight and kill. As you were raised, this violence likely was repressed and removed from your repertoire. When little boys fight, they're reprimanded and punished. This happens from time to time. This happens from the time you are very little. When men fight, there are legal repercussions. In addition, there are often civil suits. If you fuck some dude up, he's going to sue you for the medical costs of his broken jaw and torn meniscus. Any of these is enough to dissuade the masses from being violent. Generally, this is a good thing. However, consider Friedrich Nietzsche's Übermensch. There are times when the law needs to be bypassed. The law's consequences are decidedly long-term and not at all suitable for a deterrent to a very short-term situation. Occasionally, it's necessary to act swiftly. Consider any dark alley scenario, for example. Now, I don't disagree with our legal system and how it handles violent criminals, not at all. I'm saying that it's your responsibility as a man to accept that there's a part of you, even if it's buried very deeply, that yearns for battle. It's your responsibility to find a healthy and acceptable way to bring this out and learn to control it. For boys, there are martial sports. Football, wrestling, MMA, boxing, and a few others all give youth a chance to learn to compete physically and with control. This is scratching an itch that needs to be scratched and can't be satisfied in any other way. As an adult, you have that same responsibility.
Find an MMA gym or some other place where you can tap into your inner gift of violence and learn to control it. If you do not, you run the very real risk, as we've seen many times on the news, that your natural aggression will come out at an inappropriate time and situation. Your violence will surface. You've got to learn to accept and control it. That only happens with practice. Why do you need to be capable of violence? Well, there are 4 distinct reasons for this. First, it's a genetic need, as I mentioned earlier. If you don't do something to bleed it off, it might come out as road rage or punching a wall or something else inappropriate. Second, having the confidence of knowing that no man is a threat to you serves as a massive aid to your level of comfort in public places anywhere in the world, particularly if you have wife and kids. You know you'll be fine. Thirdly, the more capable you are of violence, the less likely you will be to ever use it. This is because you will have first-hand knowledge of the massive damage you are capable of inflicting. Good men pull this out only when there is no other choice. Lastly, and most importantly, it is your duty as a man to protect. Quote, "There are 3 types of people in this world: sheep, wolves, and sheepdogs. Some people prefer to believe that evil doesn't exist in the world, and if it ever darkened their doorstep, they wouldn't know how to protect themselves. Those are sheep. Then you've got the predators who use violence to prey on the weak. They're the wolves. And then there are those blessed with the gift of aggression and an overpowering need to protect the flock. These men are the rare breed who live to confront the wolf. They are the sheepdog." End quote. That was said by Wayne Kyle. He's the father of American sniper Chris Kyle. Now imagine you're with your wife and daughters and you're leaving a public place at night. You forgot your wallet inside, so you tell them you'll meet them at the car. No more than 90 seconds behind them, you get out in the dark parking lot and you hear your wife screaming. There's a man forcing her and the girls into the car in an attempt to do who knows what. You feel that fire coming up inside you? Of course you do. You're a man, and it's part of your DNA. Your heart rate is quickening, your blood is boiling. That's adrenaline starting to adjust your body for conflict. It's natural, and you need to learn how to manage it for the safety of yourself and others. Now, while adrenaline will dull pain, make you stronger, quicker, and more able to survive any conflict, it effectively shuts down the decision-making part of your brain. You've got fight, flight, or freeze left. Now, in that parking lot scenario, I sure as hell hope you'll choose fight. Repetitions of conflict will teach you how to manage an adrenaline dump like this. You'll be able to think even though your body is telling you just to act. Plus, just as with any other action your body is capable of, practice will make you better at it. Just having the confidence of knowing you're a strong, flexible, and fast athlete will help you, but having the muscle memory to know how to apply an arm bar or the ability to connect with a solid neck strike can make the difference in a life or death proposition. These are the things you'll learn as you begin to refine your gift of violence. Even if you don't have a family of your own, it's part of your worth as an ideal man to be able to protect the weak. In that parking lot scenario, replace your wife and children with a random woman. You'd better still act violently. Quote, "If the day ever comes that you have to fight for your life, the only thing that will determine the outcome is if you have ever trained and prepared for that fight." End quote. Tim Kennedy. What about calling the police on your phone? Well, that's a valid question. I mean, if you have time, call them. However, you don't want to be bringing your phone to a fist fight. Worse yet, you could be bringing your fists to a gunfight. There are an estimated 434 million guns in the United States. Now, keeping in mind that the 2020 population of the U.S. is 331 million, that's 1.3 firearms for every soul in the country. In fact, 42% of all American households report having at least one gun, and those are just the ones who report them. That being the case, it stands to reason that you'd better familiarize yourself with how to aim and fire a gun. The bad guys have them. You can count on that. It's far better to be facing a fair fight. When you have a look at the concealed pistol license map, you can see that unless you're in one of the coasts or in Illinois, pretty much every state will issue you a concealed pistol license. Get out and take a class so that you are up to date on the latest self-defense technology. Learn how to use and to store your weapons safely. Now, it's never made sense that politicians, in a reaction to high rates of gun violence, take Chicago for example, choose to respond by banning guns. When a place that has a high crime rate, we can agree that those responsible for said crimes are criminals. For a bad guy, access to a firearm is never an impediment to engaging in an act of violence, and they certainly pay no mind to law changes. They're criminals for shit's sake. The only practical effect of outlawing guns is that law-abiding citizens will no longer be armed. This creates a massive disparity in defense capability. Good guys are now less able to defend themselves and others. The bad guys who do not respond to the law changes, as we said, are just as armed and just as criminal. When a politician bans firearms, she is basically creating a crime smorgasbord for those of ill intent. I'd argue this is why school shootings became prominent in the first place. All schools are gun-free zones. This, to a bad guy, means he can fire away with no worry of anyone shooting back. Now, if guns are the problem, why aren't there mass shootings in places where there are lots of guns? Why is there no crime at gun shows or inside police stations? Why do hunt clubs not get shot up? Why do we not see mass killings at gun ranges or surrounding hunting season? Well, the answer is simple. Those who intend to do violence seek the weak as victims, and disarming any group makes them weak, and thus easy targets. All that said, an ideal man knows exactly the most effective method to defend himself and those around him, be it firearms, improvised weapons, bare hands, or simply walking away. You need to familiarize yourself and sharpen for the sake of control your capacity for violence. Learn how to tap into your gift of violence and how to use it effectively. Most importantly, learn when to use it, when to suppress it, and exactly how to turn it off when it's not needed. And that all takes practice. Get to work. Options for developing violence. Number 1, take a CPL class. Number 2, join a martial arts academy. Number 3, and this is a big one, think your way through hypothetical violence situations regularly. Have a plan.